Everyone. We are from Nutrition Australia, New South Wales. I think I'm aware everybody knows about it. Probably not Simon. Um, so we are not-for-profit organization. My name is Saba and I work in the office. And Cinthya is our contractor and she's working for us. Our services are basically includes starting from and range from cooking demos to seminars, live webinars, and one-on-one consultations. We also have some team building activities. Then we also have smoothie demos and a lot more. We have recently introduced our nutrition digital package, especially during these times. We know how difficult it is to fight for health. So we have included two nutrition fact sheets, four social media posts, and one nutrition education webinar, plus simple and tasty recipes. So if you want to log in and get into organizing any of these services for your workplace, please contact at on our website, or you can directly email us at admin@nutritionaustralianewsouthwales.org.au, or contact through us even on Instagram. Join us on our Facebook, Nutrition Australia New South Wales, and Instagram as well. So let's start the virtual demo then.
Okay, thanks, Saba, for the introduction. So welcome, everyone. As Saba mentioned, my name is Cinthya, and I'm an accredited practicing dietitian, and I'm going to be running today's cooking demo. Now, with today's demo, I'll be doing two things. I'll be making vegetable fritters and a banana smoothie. And these are recipes that you can find on the Nutrition Australia website, so I encourage you to jump on and have a look. But with today's session, I will be putting my own modifications to it. So, you know, it's kind of, don't be surprised if it's going to read a little bit differently to what you see online. Okay. So I will start firstly with making my vegetable fritters. And for the vegetables today, what I picked are a purple carrot, a zucchini, and a fresh cob of corn. So I'm going to start firstly by grating my veggies. Okay, so just using a, if anyone has any issues catching me on the computer, let me know. So I'm just going to use a box grater. So this is a pretty standard piece of kitchen equipment most people have, and I'm going to use the side of the grater which has a really large holes, and then I'm just going to grate it directly into a bowl just because it saves on washing up and it's convenient, and it catches the bits and pieces that fly out of when you tend to grate. So just doing that. And the reason I picked purple carrot is, well, really I love the color of it. It's a bit different to your orange carrot. Purple carrots are also great in that they contain a special antioxidant called anthocyanins. And that is a compound that actually gives the purple carrot, the deep sort of dark colors. So you just want to be careful if you've never used a box grater before, just as you reach the end of it, just slow down a little bit so you don't end up grating skin off your fingers. Okay, so that's done. And next thing I'm going to do is grate my zucchini. I love using zucchini in fritters and in baking as well, because as a vegetable, zucchinis have really high water content, so it actually does a really good job of keeping your foods moist. It just has this natural moisture that it lends to your food. Whoops, lost an earpiece. Okay. All right, so that's all nicely grated. And for the corn, I won't be grating it. I'm actually going to show you how we're going to get the kernels off the cob of corn. Now, if you don't have to use a fresh cob of corn, you can use tin corn, you can use frozen corn, it doesn't really matter. But what I'd like to show you is just how easy it is to actually take kernels off a fresh cob of corn. And I find it just tastes a little bit better, but like I said, you don't have to don't feel like you have to use a fresh cob of corn if you don't have it on hand or if you're not sure about this technique. So what you firstly need to do is take the husk and the silk off the cob of corn, and it's just super easy. You just pull it off that way. And you want to take, so the husk is the outer bit, and this is called the silks of the corn. You want to take all of that off, just because it's quite fibrous, and you don't want to be necessarily eating it. Okay, so then what you need to do when you're cutting kernels off a cob of corn is using a very, very sharp knife, because it makes your job easier. You can use a smaller knife. You don't have to use one that's as big as this. And you want to have a firm grip on one end of the corn, and you want to put the other end on a very stable surface, like a chopping board, or you can put it on a plate, but something that won't move. And what you do is then you hold the corn quite firmly that way. I like to start about halfway up the corn, just because it's a shorter distance to travel, and you want to hold your knife at a bit of an angle, and I hope you can all see that well. So a bit of an angle to the corn, and you just want to run your knife down to the edge of the corn that way. Yeah? And so you'll see the bits of corn fall off, coming off quite easily. So this is why you'd absolutely need a sharp knife. If you're using a blunt knife, it's a lot more dangerous, and it's going to just make your job harder to get the kernels off a cob of corn. And then you just want to flip the corn over once you've done that side, and you repeat the same thing. Running it down the edge of the corn, getting all the kernels off. You can probably see kernels are flying everywhere, but that's part of using a fresh cob of corn. And then putting all that into your mixing bowl together with the rest of the grated veg. And then I'm going to put that aside. So what I have here is all the veggies grated, as well as the cut kernels of corn. And what I'm going to do next is add the other ingredients that are going to go into my fritter. So I'm going to season it with fennel seeds that I have ground. You can use fresh herbs. You can use any sort of other dried herbs that you have in your pantry, or fresh, whatever you have. Pick something that you like, just to give it a bit of flavor. So I've got some fresh fennel in there. And I'm also going to add a good tablespoon, a heaped tablespoon of flour. And I'm going to use wholemeal flour for today. You can use plain flour. It doesn't matter, whatever you have on hand. And I'm also going to add 2 eggs to help bind the mixture. Okay, so just cracking it straight into the bowl. And then I'm also going to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. So a good pinch of salt for flavor, and a good grind of pepper. And then I'm just going to mix this up with a fork, just so it's all nicely mixed in together. We want to make sure that the egg coats all of the veggies, because the egg is what's going to help the fritter stick together. Okay. So a good mixture. You can see that all the veggies are nicely coated in the egg. And at this point, what I might do is start to put the heat on the pan, just to get it warmed up and get it ready for cooking. So you should be able to get about at least 6 good-sized fritters from this mixture and this quantity. I'm going to cook about 3 fritters just to each time in the pan, just because I've got that size of a decent sized pan. It's really up to you whether you want to make smaller fritters or you want to make larger fritters. It's really a personal preference thing. Okay, so waiting till my pan gets nice and hot. and I'm going to be cooking these fritters together with using olive oil, so extra virgin olive oil. So if you're not already using extra virgin olive oil to cook, it's a really, really good choice of oil to use. It's got quite a high smoke point, and so it makes it a versatile kind of oil. It's good for cooking, so it's stable with a high smoke point, but it's also good to use as an oil to drizzle on salads. Really good health benefits, and particularly for heart health. So a good drizzle of the extra virgin olive oil in my pan, and I'm just going to give it a few seconds to heat up. You want it nice and hot so that when the fritters are actually when I actually put the fritters on the pan, it actually starts to cook straight away, and it forms a nice crust and it starts to brown at the bottom. Okay. So that feels about nice and hot to me. You can, it's just about, it's been about 30 seconds or so. Now I am going to do fritters that's going to be about the size of my palm. So that's going to be about 2 good sized tablespoons that's going to go in at each time. And I'm going to do, like I said before, about 3 fritters each time. And so just a good sized scoop going in. You should all be able to hear that sizzle go, I hope. So about 2 spoons per fritter. And over a medium kind of heat. You don't want something that's too high because then it will burn the bottom of your fritter before it can cook through the veggies. Okay. So I've got 3 fritters sitting nicely and comfortably in my pan, and it's just going to take about a couple of minutes on each side to brown and cook through before I flip it over. And you can sort of test this, after it's been sitting in the pan for a couple of minutes. Now, I love making vegetable fritters because it's a really versatile kind of dish to make. It can be your breakfast, it can be your lunch. It travels well, so it's good for lunch boxes, for work, for kids to bring to school. It's a really good way as well to use our veggies that might have been sitting in your fridge for a little bit too long and it looks a little bit tired. So things like, if you've got a little bit of broccoli left in there, cabbage, asparagus, whatever you've got sitting, these are vegetables that you can give a rough chop and use instead of grating what I've done, like the zucchini and the carrot, and using that, giving a rough chop, mixing it with an egg, a little bit of flour, similar proportions to what I was using for these fritters. So it's a really kind of flexible kind of recipe that you can play around with different kinds of ingredients. At this point, what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of a frying slice just to check that the bottom of the fritter isn't burnt through. Is cooking nicely and isn't burnt. So that probably needs a few more minutes to cook through. We don't want to flip it too early because if it hasn't set and you try to flip it, it will kind of just fall apart. Now, while that's cooking, what I might get started on is I want to make a bit of a dressing to go with the fritters. So you can obviously have it on its own, but I want to make a yogurt-based herb dressing to go with the fritter. So what I will do is I'm going to use dill as my herb of choice, just because I love dill, but you can obviously use any sort of herb that you want. If you don't have herbs, if you don't have herbs available to you, you don't have to do it. So basically this dressing is just going to be yogurt, a little bit of lemon juice and a herb, right, and a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'm just going to give my dill a very rough chop. And obviously you can use dried herbs as well if you've got that sitting in your pantry. If you don't have any fresh ones on hand. Okay, so I've chopped the dill and I'm going to just put it in a bowl. And I will check on my fritters before I move on with the rest of the dressing. So that's nice and brown, and you will get to see it once it comes out of the pan. It's just a little bit difficult to show it right now. So I flip all my fritters over, and then just going to give that another couple of minutes to cook through as well. I'm just going to finish my dressing while I do that. So the herb, the dill's chopped up. I'm going to use a lemon, about maybe a quarter of a lemon. I like to give my lemon a bit of a roll, just to break open the sacs that are in it so that it releases its juices a lot. It's just easier to juice that way, to get some juice out of it. So just about a quarter of a lemon. If you like very citrusy flavored, lemony sort of flavored things, you can use more. So just squeezing that into here. Making sure you catch any seeds that fall out. And then just some plain yogurt that's going to go in there. And I'm going to mix through. And then I'm just going to hit it up with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And then I just have to give it a good mix through. Okay, so that's my herby lemony dressing for the fritters, which I'm just going to set aside at the moment. And then that will be something that I will dress the fritters with at the end of when it's all done and plated and ready to go. Okay, so you want to be checking your fritters. If you find that it's burning, just turn down the heat a little bit when you flip it on the other side. You do want to give it enough time so that it just cooks through in the middle, and it's not, it's not soggy in the middle, and it's the eggs all still not cooked through yet. So you just want to be patient with the cooking time on your fritters. And my suggestion is not to make fritters that are too fat, because then it takes a little bit longer for the middle bit of it to cook through. You can probably hear the popping. That's the sound of the corn popping, which is, what it normally does, like when you make popcorn. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how that looks, and I think that's cooked through. And I'm actually going to switch off my flame, but I will leave that in the pan for the moment, just to keep it warm. What I might do now is just move on to my second dish. I haven't cooked up the rest of my fritter mixture, but I'll do that. And this is just so I can show you what the end product looks like. If I were to cook the other set of fritters, the rest of the batter, then it's just going to take a little bit too long. But what I will do is move on to my second dish, which is a banana smoothie. Okay, so we all love banana smoothies, or most of us do. It's quite a nice little recipe to have, and it's quite a versatile one as well, as you can see. So traditionally, a banana smoothie would just be a banana. A ripe banana would be great because it gives its natural sweetness, and then a bit of milk and a bit of yogurt. And you can change how much yogurt and milk you put in your smoothie depending on how thick you like it, and then you can add different kinds of seasonings as well to it. If you're not a fan of bananas, other sort of fruit you might want to try in a smoothie, I think, like berries, or even an orange, a fresh navel orange that you cut up, you take the skin off and you chop into pieces. It's a really refreshing sort of a flavor. But we're going to start with a traditional banana smoothie. So for this one, what I'm going to do is, into my blender jug, I will put in about a cup of milk. You can pick any kind of milk that you like. I've just got normal cow's milk. And then a ripe banana. The riper the banana, the sweeter the flavor. So, go for as ripe as and sweet as you like. It's up to you again. If you find you don't really like the flavors of really ripe bananas, just don't pick one that's too ripe. You pick one that's got still a little bit of green in it. It just won't be as sweet. And then I'm going to add about a good 1.5 tablespoons of yogurt in there. And I love cinnamon, so I'm just going to add quite a bit of cinnamon in here. So about, well, I don't know, maybe 1/2 teaspoon, maybe a little bit more than that. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit different because I'm going to actually add some spinach in here just to get a good veggie serve. And you're probably thinking, oh, what is she doing? She's adding spinach into her smoothie. Is that going to taste weird? Well, actually, no, because if you haven't tried this before, I'd suggest really trying it, because spinach is actually quite a mild tasting veggie, right? And you won't really pick the flavor of the spinach when you're making a banana smoothie. It gives a nice bright green color, which is the chlorophyll from the spinach. But you know, it's a nice way to sort of get your veggies in, and it's not a very, like I said, not a very strong tasting vegetable. So I love adding spinach to my smoothie. And I like to also add a tiny pinch of nutmeg. It complements spinach quite well. So this smoothie isn't going to be super sweet. It's actually going to have that a bit of, because of the nutmeg in it, it's going to have a bit of a savory kind of a flavor profile to it. But I don't like nutmeg. Obviously, you don't have to use it. So that's going to be my smoothie. And there are other things that you can add to it. It really depends what you like. You know, you can add chia seeds to it. You can add peanut butter to it. You can add LSA mix to it. Even an avocado could be good, or some rolled oats. And it depends how substantial you want to make your smoothie. It's a really good food. It's really something really good to make, you know, whether it's something, if you need breakfast on the go, or if it's good, it's also good as a snack in between meals. Good, really good for the kids as well. So I'm just going to walk over to where my blender is, which is over here. And just going to give that a very quick blend for about 30 seconds or so, just until everything's mixed in. So you just want to give a good mix, especially if you put spinach in, because you don't want to have clumps of spinach leaves in your mouth as you drink your smoothie. Okay, so that's blended for about 30 seconds or so. So I'm quite happy with that. And as you can see, it's a nice little light green color. In the summertime, it's nice when you add ice cubes into your smoothie as well. It just makes it nice and cold. So I'm just going to pour it into a glass. And I'm going to then plate up the fritters. Okay, so I know it's probably a little bit dark, but you can kind of see how the fritters are nicely brown. These are a little bit probably darker than usual, only because I've used purple carrot in the mixture. If it's an orange carrot, it wouldn't be as dark. It might look like it's a little bit burnt on your screen, but I promise you that's just the color of the purple carrot coming through. And then I'm just going to top that with the herby dressing, the yogurt dressing that I've made. And putting as much or as little as you want, depending on how much you like the you know, the flavor combination of the herb and the lemon and the yogurt. And so hopefully you can see that. So that's that's the two dishes that I was going to walk you through today. We've got the vegetable fritters made with purple carrot, zucchini, and corn, and then we've got a spinach and banana smoothie. So this in itself is a pretty solid little meal. Like, it can be a really substantial breakfast, or it can be brunch maybe on the weekend. You know, the smoothie, as I said, is a good little something good to have when you need breakfast on the run, or if you need something, you know, an after school snack for the kids would be great, because you've got a fruit serving in there. You've got with that handful of spinach, that's a vegetable serve in there. The vegetable fritters make a good, you know, breakfast, lunch, a lunchbox option for the kids. If you're having this at home, if you cook up a couple of eggs on the side, it can be quite a substantial little breakfast. And it's so chock full of veggies in there. You know, one serve of fritters, like these three alone, can easily give you, you know, very close to one serve of vegetables, if not more than that. So just this alone, you're hitting 2 serves of vegetables already, and you're almost halfway to your 5 serves of recommended serves in a day. So that's it. That's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you got some ideas. Hope that inspired you to try something. Spinach in your smoothie, vegetable fritters, see what you have sitting in your fridge that you can use up to make some fritters. And yeah, be interested to hear how you found the session, and if you found that, you know, that's given you some ideas to try this weekend.
Thank you so much, Cinthya.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Cinthya.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.